Alright, I'm going to go through some of the steps for creating your torn paper face. First of all, you're going to choose a mood or emotion to express, which can be one of those from the packet of handouts that you got. Once you decide that, you're going to make 2 sketches in your sketchbook. These are the 2 sketches that I've done. I've chosen my mood as anger or frustration. So I have one example of the man being angry that this kid just threw a ball and broke the window of his house, and the other one that he missed the train. So the train is leaving and he's frustrated that he missed it. Okay, so I've decided to go with this one. I think this one would be a little more interesting to make my torn paper face out of. So once you pick the sketch you're going to go with, the next thing to do is to pick the background piece of paper that you'll start with. You want to look for what's going to be most of the background. So I decided that this part all around him would probably make up that biggest part of the background. I thought that would probably be grass, so I'd start with green. So I have a green sheet of paper here. What you want to do after you have your background is kind of draw out some of your main shapes onto your background. So I've drawn his head out here, just the main shape of his head. I don't want to put any of the details in yet or anything, because another piece of paper will go over this for his head. So, and remember, you want it to take up at least 1/3 of the page. So in your sketch, make sure your head is nice and big, taking up a lot of space of that page. Okay, so I've got it nice and big on here, takes up a lot of space, got that shape, and his neck and shoulders drawn out. I also drew on where the tracks would be, kind of where the train was, and here, this is going to be a sky. So instead of taking the time to draw the details on the sky, I wanted to get my sky piece in there. So I took a blue piece of paper, marked out how high up I'd want the sky to be, and then did a nice straight tear on there. You can do a straight tear simply by folding and creasing the paper a couple times, and then carefully tearing it. So now I want to show you how I'd go about making the shape for my face, and this can be, the same technique can be used for a lot of the shapes. So I decided you want to use color to express your mood or emotion. So if this guy's angry or frustrated, I thought red would be a good color to show that. People kind of can get red in the face when they're angry or upset, and it's just a color that shows anger. So I have a red piece of paper here, and what I'm going to do is basically place it over top of my paper, and I want to get this face drawn in. So I'm going to kind of peek and draw. So I peek, I kind of see where the line of his face is, put it back down, and try and draw this in about the same place. And I'll continue to do that as I go. So make sure that it's big enough and it's about the same size. Get his shape of his ear in there. And if it's not perfect, that's okay. But you want to make sure it's just big enough and about the right size and the right shape that you started out drawing. Okay, come back down. Need the ear shape here. All right. So we're pretty good with that. Fix it if I need to. So now I have that shape drawn onto my red paper. How I'm going to go about tearing this, in order to get the best tear, okay, I might start tear just a little bit, but I actually want to fold, do a bunch of little folds all the way along that line. Okay, now they're not going to be perfect, and to change directions can be tricky, but the best I can, I'm getting a bunch of little tiny folds following the shape of my line. So you can see I would do that all the way around to get a bunch of little folds, and then when I put it down, and as I carefully try to tear this, it's going to tear pretty close to that line now, since I made those folds. You still got to work slowly and carefully as you tear, but that's helping me get the shape out, making it a lot easier so I don't accidentally get a big tear in the wrong direction, which can happen otherwise. So those little micro folds will help. Even when you get to the smaller details, you want to try that. Take your time tearing to get the right shape out of it. Okay, so I'd keep tearing, tear out the whole thing. This is the result, the one I did earlier. So I'd place my big shape in there. Now from there, I could go ahead and draw the rest of the facial features onto this color. And then I'll go ahead and make those smaller pieces as I go. But yep, then I just make all the other little shapes I have. I got my train, my steam coming out of the train, railroad tracks, get those fit in there, however that works out. I got my sun, little pieces torn out for my trees. And I still need to carefully cut out or tear out his facial features, and you want to make sure you choose contrasting colors for the facial features. So for instance, I wouldn't make his mouth red because his face is already red, and maybe make it pink or a lighter color. Or his nose too, I might make it a lighter pink or a tan or some other color. Make those features stand out. Yeah, make sure you have balance. So make sure there's not everything all on one side. Like I have my train over here and my trees and my sun over here, that balances out. Make sure you have contrast so things stand out from one another, kind of like we're talking about with the face. And make sure you have emphasis. And your emphasis should probably be on your person's face. That should be the biggest, clearest thing that you see first. Have emphasis on that. And then also on the background scenery that tells the story. Make sure that's emphasized as well. All right, good luck.